It's a new video. I need to clear out all of this mess because it's literally in my way. Literally. This is the aftermath, if you want to call it, of taking photos. Cameras, batteries, little decorations, those can stay. But I gotta tear this whole thing down and then I can actually start this video. Welcome back to IKonic 3D Studios, and I have a very interesting topic and print for you guys. So today's print process is a little bit different because I'm going to point out some things that some influencers just straight up don't include in any of their videos. Some people do, some people don't. But there's a hard reality to all 3D printing, and that's failures or mess ups or sometimes just straight up thinking you know what you know and know what you're doing, but in reality, you have no idea what you're doing and you're kind of just hoping that the printer works the way that it's supposed to work and all the settings are what you set them to and they just print what they're supposed to. But in reality, that does not work all the time. And on this specific print, which is gonna be Hera from CA3D Studios, and this is Hera from the Lord of the Rings side movie that came out last year, I believe, 2024. My fiance is absolutely addicted to that movie, or was at one point. So when this model came across, I told Carlos multiple times, nail it, please. And he did. He did a fantastic job. He did 2 versions. I am going to do the final version, which is the bride's dress. That's actually, if you've seen the movie, then you know that that's the actual outfit that she wears at the end when she fights Wolf. Good model, but I made a very drastic mistake. And I will go outside into the studio, show you what exactly I did. So you might check your printer, or if you have multiple printers like I do, just keep common knowledge of this because this can happen to anybody, unfortunately. So I'm gonna get out there, show you guys exactly what happened. All right, so we are outside here now. And I'm not really gonna be too much in frame here, but this is my Peopoly Prime. It's actually the Peopoly normal, but I have an updated screen. Hi, dog. Hello. Hi. Do you like interrupting my clips? I'm going to include this because everybody thinks you're super cute. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Go lay down. Go. So, this is the Peopoly with the Prime upgrade screen, 6K screen, all that jazz. I was gifted this printer. This is a really nice printer. I'm not going to lie. But it has caused me an absolute headache. And the big reason is now I have a giant sticker here, so I always remember to turn my mirror axis on. And if you can see where I'm going with this, my mirror axis ended up being backwards for this entire print. And I did not know that. And for many of us, I like to actually print most of my bases in FDM because if it's a simple base like a rock or something that does not have a lot of detail, and as you'll see in this print, it does not have a lot of detail. But FDM printers, you cannot mirror it. And I wasn't going to print this whole base in resin, just mainly for cost purposes. It's a lot cheaper to just do this kind of base in FDM because it's a lot more compact and smaller. But I forgot to mirror the screen on this printer, and it caused me an absolute headache for a long time, and I did multiple things when I got this to keep playing with it. And I finally was able to figure it out that it was not my y-axis, but it was actually my x-axis that was being mirrored wrong. I needed to turn off mirroring, and in Light Sheet, it was defaulted on. I originally started with left, you know, your y-axis mirror. I tried disabling that, came out to the same thing. It ended up being the x-axis of all things. I was like, okay, this is the last thing I literally tried. Wasted a lot of resin to get this print the way that I wanted to, but upon it being finished, I was like, the FDM base won't fit. So, in this specific video, I am now going to have to try to mill out the middle of this FDM base to make this print fit. Luckily enough, this is a very simple print. It's nothing complex. It is literally 2 pieces and a rock put together. So I'm not complaining. I'm quite happy that this was a simple model and not a very, very large model where I'd be punching the air violently. Yes, I would. I'd be punching the air very violently, unfortunately. So I will show you guys what the print is so I can stop babbling, and I'm going to get to painting. I have to prime the model first, and then I will get to painting. So I will show you guys the mistake right now. So as we can see here, I have the entire model put together. I'm gonna freehand this a little bit. I don't have my gimbal handy. But as you can see, I printed multiple pieces of the feet. This was the perfect test model, in my opinion, to try to get this setting correct. I ended up figuring it out. We're good to go now for all future models, but some of these pieces were rather large. Like these legs are not separated from the base. The torso is all one piece. The arms are separated, and I believe the head is actually connected to the hair in this model, which is in a cut. If any of you know what you're doing, you know usually hair wants to be separated from the head because that is a big in the 3D printing world. Nonetheless, as you can see down here, I have absolutely no holes for the feet, and the actual peg itself is kind of just sitting on top of this base here. So I'm gonna have to mill out this whole entire piece with my Dremel and probably mill some holes down here, but at least it'll be covered up because this is a simple model. So I'm gonna show you guys a couple fixes on how I'm gonna try to fix this model and piece it together in this video. So without further ado, here's Hera. I'm gonna get outside and prime it, and we'll take the video from here. Let's go. Cue the voiceover now. AKA, that beat was just absolutely savage. Came across it, I was like, yo, yeah, that's a fire beat. Put that in there. I don't want to do any voiceover. I did a pretty good job showing you exactly what I needed to do with some dry brushes and some contrast paints. But anyway, we are now moving on to our zenithal highlight, which I just use a Vallejo white ink mixed with some water because you do not want to keep
white ink straight into your cup, because not only will it stain your cup, but it also stain and dry the inside of your airbrush in and out, and you're going to be stuck cleaning it out, as well as some massive tip dry if you're just pouring ink straight into it. That's my own thing. I don't know. Some people are different. Some people just pour it in there, but whatever. So we're just going to go over the highlight here, and then we're going to move on to the actual painting. Let's go! And next up, we're pulling out a Vallejo Chocolate Brown. This is what I'm going to use as my base coat for the leather. And as you're going to see, I'm going to go through many, many, many browns through all of these clips, and I will name every single one that I do. The next color I'm going to pull out is Orange Brown from their Model Color series as well. This was all a leather package that Vallejo sells. So the kit itself, I have them all in a row, and I kind of just run through each color here so I can get the perfect color that I'm looking for. But I just dry brush this over, try to get as much paint off as I can, and just go over all the ridges. Next up, I pull out this Unit World War II Japanese series paint from Vallejo as well, and I'm just going to start going over all of the ridges with this. And then I'm going to pull out my airbrush here, and I'm going to go over this with some of this mahogany ink from Vallejo as well. This is going to kind of add that like dark leathery tone that you normally would see in leather, where it's not, the colors aren't like overly washed out, but it actually adds a little bit depth to the color here. And I'm actually going to use all the same colors that I had previously used on the hilt, or the actual leather part of this sword as well. So just write down whatever those colors were, the chocolate brown, orange brown, World War II Japanese uniform, and then I'm going to hit it with that same mahogany ink. And I believe at the end of the video I had a little panel liner to separate the leather as well, just so you note that towards the end of the video. Next up, everybody's favorite skin tone, starting out with a Vallejo Squid Pink. I'm going to use this as the base coat, and I'm going to accidentally thin this way too much, as you're going to see. And yeah, I ended up having to do 2 or 3 coats of this instead of just 1 like I normally do, because let's face it, I was exhausted when I was doing this, and a long day at work, and I just kind of, yeah, you know. I'm going to pull out some Vallejo red ink here, and I'm just going to run this about 50-50 with some waters, because you don't want to just pour ink into your airbrush. I'm going to use this as a shadow tone and the actual basis of most of the skin tones to add a little bit of depth. Pro Acrylics Tan Flesh is my mid-tone choice here, and I'm just going to lay this down pretty thin. Just enough coverage to get all the red and the pinks gone, but just leave enough so we have a little bit of a highlight. And I'm going to pull out a Vallejo Pale Light Flesh, Light Flesh 50-50 water. Just going to spray this over the highlight tones, and we're good to go. And now that all the skin tones are done, I'm going to go over my little wash segment that I usually do. I do a yellow ink mixed with water, a blue wash mixed with water, and a red wash mixed with water. I do all of these inside these little cups that I continuously just reuse, and yeah, I add these to give the color and the depth to the skin a little bit, as well as it kind of accents some of the highlight tones that you do as well. Some people like to do this, some people don't. I don't do it on every model, but this one I decided to do it. And while the skin tone's dry, I'm going to pull out a Vallejo just black, and I'm going to go over the actual soles of the boots here. Continuing on with our boots here, they have these little metal plates in the front, as well as the arm metal plates. I'm going to mix some Vallejo black, green, and metal medium together to kind of give this shimmery effect that's supposed to go over the front here. And for some reason, I guess I just did this completely out of frame, but you get the gist of it throughout this clip. Just stir them together, make sure that they're evenly distributed, and just lay it down. And now I'm going to pull out some Magic Liquid Scale, aka Tamiya's acrylic panel liner, and I'm just going to go in all these little crevices and creases here that Carlos decided to put in these boots. Kind of a pain because they're not super deep recesses, but as long as you're careful and try to pinpoint a good spot within those recesses, it doesn't really come out. Next up is the actual metal color, aka the gold color that's around. I'm going to mix some copper from Pro Acrylic and Glorious Gold to kind of give it this nice little, I don't want to say pure gold, but I'm going to give it this, it looks like gold in the end. That's all I can say. You see the results for yourself and you'll understand where I was going with this. Next up is the hair shading. I'm going to pull out a bold titanium white from Pro Acrylic, give it a good little shake. And I'm actually going to dry brush this over the hair. I'm not going to fully paint it, but I'm just going to get a nice little wet dry brush. And here I'm going to use Vallejo's Vermilion red. This is a very subtly pinkish red, not too like Scarlet Red or Inferno Red, but it's a nice red. It's going to highlight the skin that I want it to do, as well as actually adding the dry brush over top of it, which I will end up using a Vallejo Old Rose. And for the gloves themselves, I'm going to pull out Luftwaffe Gray Uniform. This is a really nice blackish gray color that's going to be able to put the effect in that I'm looking for on the gloves. You would think that they are actually more of a leathery brown, but... And back to the actual hair itself. Like I said, I was going to pull out a Old Rose pink-ish, reddish color from Vallejo. I had to let the hair dry a little bit because it was a pretty thick red layer, and I'm just going to dry brush this over the top of the entire hair here. It's going to add some of the strandish kind of shading that you're looking for, even though the camera probably isn't going to pick it up, because red is a very aggressive color for any camera to actually pick up. So try my best to show you guys, and yeah, that's it. I'm going to pull out Vallejo's metal color. I think it's Geranium, something like that. I'm just going to put this in a little pot because these kind of metal colors and these specific pots do not like to be put on a wet palette very much. But I'm just going to use this as the actual base color for the sword itself. I'm not going to go too crazy on the sword, as the actual render of the sword is kind of more of a new sword, not used or abused. So I'm not going to really do any. And as the sun is quite literally setting while I was recording this part, it is very bright next to me. I literally am in a room full of windows. One day I will show you guys that, but anyways, I'm going to pull out that Pro Acrylic / Vallejo Gold, Glorious Gold. that I used on the sword and the boots and all the other stuff. And I'm going to use this on this little hair braid thing that she has. I don't actually know what the name of it is. Next up, I'm just going to do some lip coloring, which is a little bit of Megos Purple to add that natural color, and the Old Rose. I'm going to mix these two together on my wet palette and just give it a nice little natural color. After that, I'm going to do a very watered down chocolate brown as the little caterpillars above her eyebrows. They are like non-existent in the actual sculpture, so I'm going to use a little brush, mess up one of them, and try my best to correct it. It's a very dark color, so... Next up, I'm pulling out that Nocturna highlight skin, and I am going to use this as the basis for the sclera, as they call it, for the eye itself. And I'm going to pull out that Vallejo dark green again. Or black green, whatever it's called. I really like this color. I'm going to use this as the actual basis for the eye. And for the inner part of the eye, I'm just going to use a Vallejo fern green to go over that, as well as a little bit of pink of that Old Rose. And I'm just going to go over that to add a little bit of highlight under the eyes, a little bit of makeup, and we're good to go. And next up is the actual shield. I'm just going to use that brown from Vallejo, mix this with a little bit of orange brown, and I'm going to do a nice little thick dry brush over top of this with a pretty fat brush. I'm going to do this over the black because it's going to allow some of that black once it dries to escape a little bit. The shield in the actual render isn't overly bright or dark. It's kind of like a mid-neutral tone, so that's exactly what I was aiming for here. And once I finish laying this brown, I'm going to pull out a Vallejo dark sand color, and I'm actually going to use this for the sun effect that's on the inside of the shield. I'm going to pull out, as I smack myself with the camera a little bit here, I'm going to pull out that denundrum or whatever aluminum, whatever color I had left over. I have just enough to be able to do the center of the shield, and that's exactly what I use it for. And then I am going to pull out that panel liner from Tamiya again, and I'm just going to go over all the little cracks and crevices that are here to kind of give them that dark effect, like it's been used / worn, old, whatever you want to call it. And as I'm getting absolutely exhausted, it's almost 11 o'clock at this point while I'm painting this, I'm going to pull out that black green again from Vallejo, and I'm actually going to use this for the sword cell, whatever it's called, the sword holder. Yeah, I'm just going to go over this once or twice because I did not actually put a highlight over this because I kind of forgot that this was even part of this print. So yeah. And once I'm done with the dark green application, I'm just going to pull out some of that dark sand color that I used, and I'm just going to use that on the actual lineage. And lo and behold, back over to the airbrush station. I'm going to pull out this Luftwaffe uniform color, and I'm going to use this for the actual stocking legging part of this print. And a new color / series even to myself. This is the first time I used it. These are these IKonic colors. Ironic, name, yeah. I got 2 of them, this Eternal White set as well as the skin color set. I will use the skin color set very soon. These paints were actually pretty easy to work with, but they have a very unique smell. Could not pinpoint it, but I use this Polar White. This is what I'm going to use as the good base tone before I do any highlighting. For the dress and the torso. And with that out of the way, I'm going to pull out this Melancholic Gray from that same white set. And I'm going to use this as kind of the shadow tone. You can kind of see them popping up here and there. And here I'm going to pull out this Nocturna's Blueberry from Vallejo. I love this color. It's like a lavenderish color, but it's called Blueberry. I really enjoy it, and the inside of the actual dress, that second tier is supposed to be, plus the bottom is actually supposed to be more of a purplish hue. And I'm going to pull out a Vallejo satin varnish. Going to put this over the leggings. I'm going to start doing it, realizing I forgot to remove the putty, and yeah, it happens. I was very tired at this point. Oh man, at this point, I am racing the clock. I'm like, I need to get this done. So I pulled out this sky gray from Vallejo. It's a very light gray. It's not white, but it's also like in between gray. It's a good color. I'm gonna use this for the actual inner part of the torso because as around this little bird thing, it's actually gray. And so I'm gonna paint it gray. And yeah, I literally forgot that this little piece was a thing. I'm gonna start out by just trying to cover some of this little belt piece with this panel liner. But in the end, I'm not gonna like any of this, and I'm just gonna paint it that dark green. Lo and behold, look. And at this point, I am actually going to do the outro here for this video. This model was pretty cool. You know, I towards the end of it, I was starting to get really worn out, and I was like, man, I'm getting kind of tired. I'm like, and every single step of the way, I'm like, man, there's another thing. Oh, there's another thing. This model kind of taught me a little bit of patience because the print quality wasn't great. This was the first time I was trying to learn how to use that Peopoly printer and found out that it was completely backwards, as well as all my exposure times are wrong. But I made the best of it with what I could on this model, and honestly, it came out pretty good. I have no real big complaints with it other than just some of these layer lines and print lines are kind of meh. But from a shelf point of view, I have no complaints. It came out really good. I'm happy with it. And I hope that some of you guys learned something on this one because every single video I try to make some learning tips and tricks and make sure that you guys know what I'm using. Like I always say, I don't hold anything back, and I'll try to never hold anything back on this channel as long as I'm recording videos. So if you guys liked what you saw here, please come back, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you guys actually want to see in the future because I have a lot of prints lined up and maybe you just don't care about any of them, but I'm going to start piecing this little model together. You're also going to see me do a little bit of grass effect in the rollout. I just used some stick-on grass that I ordered on Amazon real quick because I didn't like that the base was so plain. So, like I said, subscribe, comment, like. Let me know what you guys want to see in the future, and I will actually catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, and keep on painting.